Hello, crafty friends. My name is Jessica, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I have a card for you using an ink blended panel from the very first color blend series I did using the positively saturated inks. These colors are Bubblegum, Sweets, and Taffy, and I went ahead and let this panel dry for a couple of days before we got started. I'm going to pair it with the Beautiful Flowers stamp set. This is an oldie, but a very well-loved goodie that I love using from Simon Says Stamp. And a very old but newly placed watercolor palette. I bought this watercolor palette from Amazon, and I just knew in order to get using these watercolors that I needed to put them in something. So I went ahead and did that, made them more visible, and here we are today. I'm going to get started by putting some anti-static powder down before I do my embossing ink. I really like these tools that allow you to use a little brush to brush on the anti-static powder. I'm one of those people that doesn't like the feel of anti-static powder, so these little tools, a lot of companies have them. This is from Rabbit Hole Designs, but a lot of companies have them now, and they are just a godsend, not having to touch that little powdery bag and that like cornstarchy feeling that you get afterwards. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick clean on this stamp. While I clean my stamps after every use, this one's been sitting for just a little bit, and I thought it would just be a good idea to go ahead and use my squeaky clean just to kind of get it started. Typically, I use Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink for most of my black ink stamping. However, I knew I wanted to use Clair embossing powder, so I pulled out this VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink because it's a pigment-based ink and it'll stay dry long enough for me to be able to sprinkle on the embossing powder. How gorgeous is this stamp set? Absolute stunner. So I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle the powder on now. And I love to use coffee filters. Of course, we're in a day and age where coffee filters, I feel like, are maybe not in everybody's household. So I did buy these specifically for my craft room because I have an espresso machine. And so it takes little pods. And so here we are with coffee filters in the craft room, but these work really great for catching all that fine little dust and being able to sprinkle it back into your little jars. It'll work for glitter. It works for being able to capture jewels if you didn't want them to roll around your desk. You could put some inside of it if you don't have any of those little bead trays. They have endless possibilities and they're so inexpensive and so helpful. Now, I know that using black watercolors to paint these florals in is probably not typical for most card making or even flower painting. But I've done this before in the past, and I just really love how it creates these shadowed florals where it's almost like they're being hit at dusk and the shadows are coming on through the night. And I love the look that it gives. It's kind of like ethereal and really, really moody. And it's just one of the ways I love to highlight these floral stamp sets. So I'm just going to go do some really basic watercoloring. I know I've mentioned that I have a bachelor's degree in art, but I am not a watercolorist. I tend to do very simple, easy watercoloring, especially on florals where I do a dark towards the base of the petal and then pull that color into a lighter as it reaches the tip. I'm going to go ahead and put some music on while I finish up this watercoloring. So enjoy, and I'll be back soon. So I'm just wrapping up the watercolor here, and I wanted to talk about how I added green into the black to give just a little bit more of a pop of color against that really bright background. I wanted those leaves to stand out, so that's why I went ahead and did this like jungly green here. I love the unexpected look of these black tones and grays on this floral against this very vibrant ink blended background. Now that's it for the watercoloring, just last little bit of color. You can't really see it here in the video. Also, I apologize for all the dog hair, but look at how stunning that is. I went ahead and dried it off camera, and then now we're going to add some splatter. Now, I do show the white here alongside the black, but you'll see that I decide not to use it. I'm really happy with the way that the black splatter looks. I absolutely love using this distress paint in black soot because it is the perfect consistency for splatter. There's no need to water it down, and it's 100% every single time. And I love using a fan brush. I've seen a couple other card makers using fan brushes, and it gives the best little droplets for the splatter. Quick cleanup. I got a little overspray there and just want to give you a little up close sneak peek of the panel. Like I said, I did decide not to use the white. You'll have to let me know down in the comments if you think that was a good idea or not. We're going to go ahead and use a reverse sentiment from Simon Says Stamp. This is the Cheeky Love Sentiments. These are so great for just adding a quick and easy, sophisticated look to your cards without a lot of effort. I absolutely fell in love with this. I love you more than coffee, and that sang a lot. I know we've talked about coffee earlier, but coffee is definitely a hobby of mine. I do enjoy consuming way too much of it. So I thought this was a great sentiment to give to somebody that I love that knows how much I do love coffee, and they would really appreciate that I love them more than that. Now, a trick when you're using these reverse sentiments as is, you can use a black marker around the edges to eliminate that white border, and it just helps it look a little bit more seamless. I really enjoy doing that. It really makes me feel like the card's a little more complete by doing that. So I'm folding my card base here, and this is me determining if I'm gonna have a border or not. I think I do this in almost every single card making video. Whether or not I'm going to have that border, it's something I tend to lean towards. But again, I did not put a border on this card. So I did trim down my card base just because it was overhanging a little bit. I cut all my card bases by myself, and sometimes they can be a little wonky. So that was just me making sure that my panel wasn't gonna be shorter than the card base. Another thing I like to do is when I'm using these reverse sentiment strips is to use black foam squares. These are from Simon Says Stamp, and they're so unique, and they make another seamless effort when you want to make sure that you're not seeing that white underneath that sentiment strip. I also really love this little ruler for getting things straight. I think I have the really good eye and being able to make things straight just by looking, but sometimes you need a little extra help, and this ruler is perfect for that. Now we're adding some pretty pink posh graphite jewels, and you'll see I will continue to fiddle with these things until I feel like they are exactly where I want them. But that kind of wraps up the card. I want to say thank you for stopping by to learn with me today, and I hope that you were able to get some inspiration from this card making video. And I'd love to have you join by hitting subscribe so that you can see more of these videos and be inspired in the future.